Hey Mose, mahalo, Stan, obviously from Studio Blue. This is your homework video. So I am going to go over to my mat here. Only props you'll need a TheraBand, like a longer TheraBand, a fitness ball, kind of like this bigger one, and then 2 lacrosse balls would be awesome. So I'm just going to make sure my mat is good to go. I'm going to drop this down just a little. There we go. Okie dokie. So I'm not going to do all of the reps on this, but I'll give you, the number in reps you can do. So again, fitness ball, something for you like 65. I think it's centimeters or whatever it is, but 65 in diameter. You'll see a lot of times 55, 65, 75. So 65 is your number. 2 lacrosse balls, and we're going to start on our hands and knees with some cat and cow stretches. So basically, fingers are spread, knees are under the hips, hands are under the shoulders. And we're just going to start by taking a couple deep breaths and feeling the hands root into the ground, the knees, the shins, and the tops of the feet. And as you exhale, very gently start to curl the tailbone, allow the chin to drop. Feel your shoulder blades widen, but make sure they don't overly lift like this into the ears. Curl the tail and feel your stomach lift, and try to relax your jaw, relax the back of your glutes, and have a sense of your stomach lifting up. And then any breath you want, inhale or exhale, the tailbone starts to lift and you start to arc through low back, middle back, upper back. Now for you, eyes are just gonna go a little forward because we don't want too much excess extension in your neck. So we're gonna say eyes just to the top edge of your mat. And then again, scoop the tailbone around, roll up. So low back, middle back, upper back. Really try to get that articulation, hold at the top, take a breath. And again, as you exhale, tailbone lifts. So we're trying to get that movement of the pelvis over the thigh bones and into the spine itself. And then find a place that's in the middle of those extremes. So we'll call it tabletop or flat back, not overly rounded, not overly extended. And then you're just going to do a gentle look to the right, wag your tail to the right, inhale back to center, and then look to the left and wag your tail to the left. And as you do this, you want to avoid overly kind of swaying the hips and really find that lateral bend, that side bending motion. You might even look a little bit behind you just to get some motion in the neck. Right, and again, if anything creates more pain in the body or more tension, ease off or back away. One more, just make sure you're even on both sides. And then come to center. You can take a child's pose, feet together, knees open, arms anywhere in front that feels comfortable, or you can always go hands behind your head if you're having a day where your shoulders feel pretty tight. And just holding for a couple deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And feeling a stretch in the armpit area, the low back, the back of the hips, so in the glutes. Even the front of the thighs will probably get a nice stretch on this. And then rise back up to hands and knees. Good. So we're going to add one thing onto this. So we're back onto hands and knees, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to feel our tummy draw up and in, but without rounding the back. And we're going to slide the right leg back. And we're going to try to lift it without overarching the spine or swaying to the left. So you want to feel some work in all 3 limbs that are on the ground and in these right glutes that are lifted. We'll inhale, draw in, and then exhale with minimal movement to the rest of the body. The left leg, we flex the foot, lift. Doesn't have to be very high. Find some tone in the back of the glutes, and then inhale, bring it in. So you can do about 5 on each side, and then again, you'll rest into child's pose. All right, and while you're finishing those 5 on each side, I should have worn my glasses because I can't read what I wrote. We're going to come onto our back. Now, you want to make sure you have a couple pillows or a towel under your head just to ease some of the extension in your neck. And that's just going to help some of those back muscles or those back of the neck muscles kind of relax. So we're going to come on down to the back. This is our chest lift. So again, you have a little bit of a pillow under your head. We're going to take the hands together behind the head, elbows in your peripheral vision, shoulders glide down. Now, pelvis is pretty neutral, so there's a little bit of a curve or some space under the lower back. Abs are in without losing that space. Nod the chin slightly. So right around where you swallow, you're going to feel some deep neck muscles in the front, super important. And then exhale, curl the head and the chest up to around the tips of the shoulder blades. And then inhale, lower, back down. Exhale to curl. Ribs glide down, belly draws in. Inhale to lower. And just keep going with this. Exhaling up, ribs gliding, inhaling down. Again, just checking that the hips and the thigh muscles aren't doing a ton of work here. And there isn't a ton of motion or emotion in the pelvis. So you're not tucking every time you lift the chest. Now you can add on, next time you lift up, hold. As you exhale, you're gonna cross your left arm past your right thigh. So there's a little bit of rotation in the upper body. My head's still supported. Inhale to center. Exhale, cross the right hand to the left thigh or outside of the left knee. Inhale to center. Now the exhale is important on this one because that exhale breath is going to help engage the deeper layer of abdominals on you. So pelvic floor, deep transversus. And it's also going to help those oblique muscles, kind of the side of your abdominals, work a little harder. And just take one more to the left. And then lower down. All right, if you want some bonus, you can keep going. I'm just checking my notes, make sure I don't forget anything. All right, so the head can come down. The lower back is gonna imprint. It's gonna flatten a bit towards the floor. And you wanna make sure, right, the tail hasn't overly tucked off the ground. You feel a little bit of weight in the ribs and the belly's drawing in. One leg at a time up tabletop. So knees, hips about 90 degrees. And you still have your waistline in. So I want you to imagine right around where the t-shirt is, around your lower abs. Feel your stomach drawing down away from your t-shirt. And then as you exhale, tap the right heel towards the ground. Inhale up. And then exhale, left heel towards the ground. And you don't want to feel your back lifting up. You want to feel your abs having to work a little bit harder as this leg comes towards the floor. Now, if you're feeling a ton of lower back tension just this particular day, you could peel this down to where your feet are on the ground. Pelvis is more neutral in this position. One leg floats up from deep abs. Inhale, lower. And then exhale, other leg floats up. And you can take your hands down to this lower ab area. And sometimes it takes a little while to kind of define these deeper abs, but I feel a ton of work here. Marching, pelvis neutral. I'm not overly braced in my back or my obliques, but I'm just working through my deep abs and my deep psoas, so a deep hip flexor muscle. So again, that's an option. So take just one or two more, end to your left side. And then we're gonna go into a figure four stretch. So knees are bent, feet are flat. Hips are square, and then right ankle is over left thigh. Now you want to flex your right foot just to take some pressure off the knee. Now your left foot can be on the ground. It can be up on a wall. You can hug the back of the thigh, or you can even place this left leg on a fitness ball, right? And you want to think of very gently, this right thigh is pushing a little forward, and there's a stretch into this outer butt area. And we're just going to hold this for like 30 seconds or so. Sometimes it feels nice to rock into it a little. So rocking a bit side to side can just loosen up this tissue, or you can just stay completely still and just breathe in. And then switching legs. So left ankle over right thigh, we're flexing the foot, right? Foot can be on the ground, or right, we're hugging it in. It can be on a wall. And just a couple of breaths here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing into the back of the ribs. And then releasing that. Now you can always do that again on each side, or we'll come right into our side lying series. So on this one, again, you can have a couple of pillows just to prop your head up, or if it feels comfortable to have your head resting, that's okay. But we just want to try to get the neck in line with the rest of the spine. So it does need to be a little lifted. Now knees are bent forward, feet are in line with the back of the sit bones. And we're going to take our top hand to the top hip. We're going to hike up a little bit to start. So this is where you generally don't want to be. And then we're just going to draw down a little bit so there's a sense of length in your waist. Belly's in. Make sure that your back, right, it's not super flat or tucked, but there's a sense of lift through the tail. And then we exhale, the top knee lifts and we hold. Now I flexed my top foot. It might be hard to see on this, but my top toes are lifting to the sky. So my foot and my knee are turned out and I'm touching the back of my glutes and I feel some tone here. As I inhale, I'm gonna lower down with control. And as I exhale, I'm lifting right from the back side of this top glute. Inhale to lower and exhale to lift. And there's just a sense of ease to the front of the ribs and the tummy. Every time I breathe out, I'm feeling right pelvic floor, so deep bladder muscles and lower abs drawn a little, right? Not a ton, to give me some stability in the back. And you definitely want to start to feel some glutes on this. Now, if you wanted to eventually make this harder, you could tie a band around your thighs, right? The band that we're going to use later. And that would definitely add a little bit more resistance. Last two. And last one. All right, rest for a moment. Now your top thigh, knee, and foot are going to lift up parallel to the ground, about hip height. Now my top knee stays 90 degrees. I'm just going to reach it a little bit back in space, just so the front of my thigh and hip gets to open. And then as I exhale, I'm rotating this top leg in. So essentially the foot goes to the sky. I inhale back to center. And again, exhale, rotate the thigh in. This should be right in the side of the glutes, right in the side of the hip. Inhale to center. Now you want to make sure as the foot goes up, watch that your knee isn't dropping down too much, but you're maintaining hip height. Exhale to rotate. Inhale to center. Exhale to rotate. Inhale to center. One more like this. And then rest. So you can rub that out, just kind of massage it. Okay. So next, we're going to take both hands behind the head. Or actually, I lied. We're going to take the bottom hand behind the head if you don't have a pillow. If you have a pillow, it's just resting somewhere forward, right? Just imagine my head's on a pillow. Top hand is at your chest. And as you exhale, you want to let your head and your ribs start to rotate back in space. Now, this doesn't have to be really far, and we want to think of the rotation coming from the upper spine. The hips might move a little, but for the most part, they're fairly stacked. And then on your next breath, just rotate back to center. So again, deep inhale. Exhale, the head and the upper ribs, the middle back and the upper back, get to start to rotate back. The lower back is staying pretty still. My lower waistline's in. And on a breath, bring it back. One more time, we're rotating back. So this rotation is amazing because it'll help also gain some extension in your back. Now for you, right, you don't want to force this. You don't want to feel like it's hurting the shoulders or the lower back. So the movement doesn't have to be very big, right? Just kind of go at your own pace and your own time. And then come back through center and we'll switch sides. I'm bringing my notes with me just so I don't forget anything. So just make sure you're still facing me. We're on that opposite side. Again, you have your pillow, or if you're using a hand, A-okay. Top arm can be at the top hip to start. So knees forward, heels in line with sit bones, the back of your butt bones. Now this top hip is gonna hike up. So again, this is gonna create some tension and we wanna try to come out of that. So I'm gonna lengthen my top hip down a little. Front of the ribs are just soft. I'm not forcing them. Top knee lifts. Now my top foot points to the sky. I push my top heel down. And as I push down, I want you to see if you feel the back of the glutes turn on a little bit. Inhale to lower. And I'm actually touching the back of my butt. And I'm just making sure as I exhale and lift, I feel some tone back here. Another thing to watch out for that is your knee goes up. Make sure you're not rolling back in space. So you want to try to keep your hips nice and stacked. So you might bring your hand to your hip at some point or back to the glutes for that tactile cue. And we want to feel this in the gluteals. And it is cold here in Portland today, so I hope you're enjoying sunshine. All right, just make sure you're breathing with this. Exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. Last three. Good, last two. And last one. All right, resting for a moment. We lift the top thigh, knee, and foot. Knee stays 90 degrees. I'm gonna move that leg back into space, a couple inches. Now as I exhale, I'm rotating the thigh in. So right, being mindful I don't drop the knee too much. I feel this in the outer glute. Inhale back to center where you started. Exhale, rotate in. Inhale back to center. Shoulders just kind of easy. Yeah, and you could also have your bottom arm long if that feels better. Kind of feels nicer on my shoulder. But again, pillows, I love pillows as well. Couple more like this and feeling side of the glute, side of the hip. This is your internal rotators. Last one. And then rest. So, right, I'm gonna bring my bottom hand behind my head for a little bit of support. If you have your pillows, you don't need to. Top hand onto the ribs. On a breath out, I'm gonna let the head and my upper back, so right around where my hand is, this is where the rib cage movement's coming from. I'm rotating backwards in space. Take a breath and then bring it back. So again, it doesn't have to be very big. As I exhale, I'm rotating back. Hips are staying pretty stacked. If it feels nice to have them move a little, that's okay. Especially if that movement in the hips allows your lower back to relax, I'm fine with it. But just feel, right? Movement, mobilization in the upper body, upper back. And for you, there's going to be this sense of your breastbone lifting a little, your sternum lifting a little, so your back isn't over rounding, but we're starting to get a little bit of extension, rotation. One more time. And back to center and rest for a moment. All right, next up, we are going to grab our fitness ball. So this guy, first up is wall squats. So I'm taking this ball. You'll be able to see me, I think, a little bit better once I come down, but my feet are going to be about shoulder distance. So make sure they're not too narrow, right? They're not too wide. Fairly parallel, right? If it feels a little more natural to have just the teeniest bit of turnout, that's fine. Now the ball is going to come to about the lower back, kind of the base of the ribs area. And I want to make sure that when I squat down, my hips are going back in space slightly. And if I look at my knees, they're about over my ankles. You might have to adjust. As you exhale, you want to push from your thighs and your butt, right? Inhale down, I'm folding into the hips. My hips, right? I'm thinking of going back slightly. Push into your feet, right? The midfoot and come up. Inhale down. Exhale up. Hands anywhere you want them, right? Maybe at your hip creases. Maybe at your thighs or your glutes, just to check in, make sure you feel them. And just check in that the shoulders and the neck, right? They're not overly tensing. Now, if you want to add on, you can come down and just hold for a moment. Breathe. You're definitely going to feel your thighs on this. Make sure your tailbone isn't overly tucked, right? Shoulders are easy. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, rise up on 1. Nicely done. Now, you could always hit pause and do that again if you'd like a little bit more work today. Or we're going to come onto the ball. So if you want a cushion for your knees, just make sure your knees feel supported. But I'm going to bring the ball really close to my thighs and my hips. I'm going to lower my ribs down onto this ball. Hands are going to come fairly low and wide, elbows wide. You want to find a place where your shoulders can kind of relax forward. Now I'm going to drop the head down. I'm going to keep my lower back pretty still. It's not going to move. My abs are in. Roll the shoulders back, and as you inhale, just slowly start to peel up to kind of a straight line, and you should feel your upper back and your middle back starting to turn on and work. And then on your next breath, just take it down slowly. Shoulders relax at the bottom. Right, on an inhale, your inhale is going to help with your extension. The shoulders start to roll a little down and in. It's going to feel like your breastbone, your sternum's pulling forward, and then we take it down again. And the lower back, for the most part, is just staying pretty still. Inhaling up, waistline still in, and exhaling down. And this one is so nice for your back. It's going to help kind of flatten out the back a little, not all the way, right? We need our natural curves, but it is going to help kind of decrease some of that upper back curve on you. One more time, a little bit of glute in the background. Hold and breathe. Inhaling, exhaling, and then lower down. Hands can come to the floor. Now, this one's kind of nice. If you tuck your toes, you can put some weight in your hands by basically just kind of lifting the knees. My feet haven't really moved. I've just lifted my knees and I'm rocking my weight a little forward. And I'm just sending my weight back towards my feet. And there might be a place where you're coming forward or coming back where you feel a really nice stretch in the back of the spine. And you might just hold that. Take a couple breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And then relax completely. So I'm going to take this ball off to the side. Now that last one, you can do that back extension. Say you can start with 5, maybe add 10. You can rest, maybe do 10 and then another 10. But again, just be mindful that if your back muscles start to fatigue, it doesn't start to go into other parts of your body. So next up, we have our TheraBand work that is going to work your external rotators and your serratus anterior. So you can be kneeling, you can be seated, you can be kneeling like this, you can be in a chair. All right, if you're standing, just make sure that your ribs and your pelvis are pretty stacked. Your pelvis isn't kind of tucked forward, right? So it would look like, so hips aren't here and ribs aren't here, but you're trying to stack your bones just as best you can. So again, just find a nice place to go. I'm going to hold onto my band. I want some tension while my hands are about shoulder distance, just a little bit. Shoulders easily roll back and down. I'm not forcing them. And then as I exhale, I'm keeping my elbows bent as I pull my hands apart. Inhale in. Exhale to open. And every time I pull apart, I want you to feel the back of your shoulders and the back of your shoulder blades. And again, I'm not forcing this. I'm starting with a pretty light band, and these muscles are designed to kind of, be on and adjusting and helping out our body and our joints throughout the day. So lighter load is nice. You can get more reps into this. You don't need a super heavy weight. So we're going to say, maybe 10 to 15, make sure the neck isn't overly working. We're breathing. Okay. But I really do like this one. If you're going to do any yard work, this is kind of a nice one to warm up your shoulders. Last one. All right. And then you can just kind of roll out shoulders. All right. So serratus with the band can be done a couple of ways. So we're going to try to keep it pretty wide, and we're going to bring it to the back of the rib cage across the shoulder blades. Now, don't get too crazy. If it bounds up and you just can't get it wide, that's okay. Just as wide as you can get it, up over the shoulder blades. So the first part is I'm holding on. My elbows are just kind of easy by the side of my ribs, right? They're a little open. They're about under the shoulder. I'm drawing my waistline in. My posture is good. I'm going to exhale, reach forward. Now, as my arms go forward, I want you to feel the shoulder blades widening, but without the shoulders overly rolling forward. Inhale, bend. Exhale, reach. Waistline draws in every time you reach. Inhale, bend. Exhale, reach. So again, maybe 5 to 10 to start. You can always progress to 10 to 15, but just making sure, right, as the arms go forward, shoulder blades widen, but we're not overly rounding the back or rolling the shoulders forward. And that band at the back of the shoulder blades should give you just a little bit of a reminder, right? That's where we're trying to kind of find a little bit more extension or flattening. Right? Once you hit your number, we're going to keep the band where it is, so kind of around the back of the shoulders. I'm going to take my hands to the floor. I still have the band there. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. My arms are straight, and I'm just going to sink my ribs down. Arms stay straight, my shoulder blades glide together. Now, as you exhale, to get those serratus muscles on, I want you to press into your hands, press your rib cage up into the band, feel the muscles under your shoulder blades, and then inhale, drop them in slightly. Exhale, push. So it's not necessarily a cat stretch, right? We're just pressing the ribs up. We're not overly rounding. So again, maybe 5 to start. You can progress to 10 and then, maybe 10 to 15. And then the band gets to go away. Okie dokie. So I'm just making sure we don't forget anything here. All right, I'm gonna grab, so you also could use a block for this as well. So you have your lacrosse ball. Right, I'm not gonna demo with a block, but you can have the block on the wall. The ball is gonna go on the block and you're just rolling right below the collarbone, find that pec tissue, that chest tissue, and you can roll a little side to side. Right, just kind of avoid any bony landmarks on this. Try to relax your arm as much as you can, right? You're not forcing it down, but just watch that it doesn't start to hike up. And just make sure you're still breathing on this. So breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then find a place where you feel maybe a little bit of tension. Press into it. Let that arm be heavy and just kind of move the arm back slightly, out to the side. Yeah, maybe some circles. Yeah. And then once you've had your fill there, switch sides. So find the other chest muscle. You're just gonna roll it. I'm just checking my notes. And I did mention, so when we were doing our clams, kind of peeling back, not to roll your hip back for you, just make sure when your right hip is up, that's the one you really want to watch doesn't roll back. All right. So again, just rolling out this other chest muscle. This feels nice. Check that the shoulders are pretty relaxed. Yep, and then you can pin a part of the chest that maybe feels a little tight, reach back, reach out. Just stay easy, keep breathing. Oh, yeah. All right, and then you can release that and your block, and we can take the ball to the top of a shoulder blade. And we're just gonna stay on that one side. We're gonna go a little bit from side to side. So a little bit left and right. And this one, as long as it feels good, you can come a little lower. So in between the shoulder blade and the spine, maybe going up and down. Yeah, and just see if there's any places that feel particularly good. And then just switch over to that other side. Yep, again, just check in. We all hold tension in our shoulders a little differently. And I know for you, it feels pretty good when we open up the front of the chest. So this might not be as intense. All right, and once you've had your roll, okay, you can release that and we'll just stand, so feet about hip distance. And again, just making sure we're not forcing it, but just making sure the hips haven't gone forward, we haven't leaned back. But if you root into the feet, knees straight, not locked, pelvis is over the feet, ribs are over the pelvis, shoulders are over the ribs, and head is over the shoulders. You can take one hand, so we'll say your left hand to your chin, your right hand to the back of the head, and very lightly think of the chin dropping and press your head into the back of your hand. And you want to feel a bit of a stretch into the back side of your neck and a little bit of work into the front of the neck. Inhale back to center. And again, exhale, the chin starts to drop, You're pushing your head back very gently and then back to center. And again, you can do this 5 times. You can work up to 10 or 15, but just see how that feels. And once you're done with that, just roll out the shoulders, shake things out, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and enjoy your homework. If you need anything, if you have any questions, please let me know. Please let me know. I am here for you. We can figure it out. Otherwise, I'll see you in Portland, hopefully around in December. And yeah, enjoy all that sunshine. Bye.